Thank you. Well, firstly, Minister, I want to welcome you to the House, and it's always great to see you here. And I also want to thank Fine Gael for their private members' time, because it gives us an opportunity to talk about the inflationary crisis that this country is facing. And just to skip forward, you mentioned we can't have people on coming into the Oireachtas day in and out asking for stuff, and we need to be strategic, and I fully agree with that. But I sit in the order of business here every day, and I hear government members coming in talking about hospitals, health. Indeed, I want to commend Senator Buttimer. He suggested under the order of business this week that we should have a meeting prior to the budget to discuss it. And I thought to myself, we don't have to wait too long, because we'll be here tomorrow, and today is tomorrow, and we've now arrived. So I want to make a few points. To the squeezed middle, we all know about the squeezed middle, and it's a slightly abused and used term. And we all accept that a large proportion of income tax, there are issues around that. You know, Minister, and I know, and I'm not giving you a history lesson, or the members in this House a history lesson, the cost of renting a home is too high. Purchasing a home is nigh impossible for most. Pension and social welfare are not sufficient to meet the costs of living. Too many people simply cannot survive on the minimum wage. The minimum wage has failed to keep pace with the cost of living. The price of petrol and diesel is particularly having an impact on agriculture and enterprise, and we need to do something about it. And you're on a border county where you would particularly have experiences, and your constituents would have experiences there. The price of home heating oil is now forcing people to make a decision, eat or heat on some occasions, in the winter certainly, and that's unacceptable. The house of energy prices have gone through the roof. Home rental has forced people back onto couch surfing, and particularly students, and people can't afford to live in the city of Dublin. Indeed, I spoke to people who work here in Leinster House today who simply cannot afford to live 20 and 30 miles within a radius of here. That is the reality of it. Childcare fees have gone out the roof and simply are like another mortgage. So none of that's new to anybody in here, and it's certainly not new to anyone in Leinster House. And you're forgiven for thinking that the opposite side of the House here, the government, the coalition government members who've tabled this motion, and I welcome the opportunity to debate the motion, but that they weren't in government. They're in government, and indeed your party have been in government for a very substantial time. And when I deal, and people deal in here under orders of business, when we deal with healthcare, when we deal with childcare crisis, and I'll continue to raise my voice over you if you heckle me from the back. We have enough party gestures in the establishment without a party gesture at the back of this chamber. And I will sit and see if I continue to have that heckling, I'll ask for, without interruption. May I repeat, healthcare is in crisis, childcare is in crisis, housing is in crisis, and they simply cannot deliver. Education is in crisis, social welfare increases, people cannot live on their social welfare. Tax cuts, is it a question of Fine Gael recalibrating their message to be politically attractive for their narrow electorate? Because I suggest it is. It's clearly interesting that the first time we're getting all this heckling is because of a group that's been attacked. No, exactly. So, okay, tax cuts over welfare is essential. I do not want tax cuts over essential funding for essential services. There are too many people queuing up for 2 and 3 and 4 years for cancer treatment. Quote, an article in today's paper, 4 years for a rare cancer gene but cannot afford to see a consultant in our national press. Minister, this is the reality of it, and so we have to be realistic. The coalition has been too slow to respond to the soaring fuel costs and food costs. There needs to be a mini budget, and I want to give one message here today. I want to give two messages. There needs to be a mini budget package put in place before the Oireachtas goes off on its long holidays. I would expect a mini budget to happen. We need to look at VAT and excise cuts on energy and fuel. We need to address the issues of women who couldn't get up this morning or yesterday morning. One woman rang my office today to say she was up every hour turning her 14-year-old son with scoliosis, and she's years waiting for treatment. That's the reality. Hundreds of people contact our office talking about CAMs, and they cannot get support. Minister, you will know, and I'll sum up, the Low Pay Commission made 18 recommendations in relation to a progressive living wage. and I think that's important. Indeed, the Taoiseach issued a statement in the last few days saying that this would be phased in over a number of years. It's too late, and quite frankly, to come and suggest that people can wait for minimum wage when politicians and people in this House and in the upper house, the lower house, are exceptionally well paid. It is a bit rich to come and suggest that they're to wait a few years for phased-in pay. I also want to say that I think my key message here today is, don't forget you're in government, don't forget you presided over all of these issues, to come in and suggest now that it's all going to happen. You've been in power, you have not delivered for the people, you have not delivered on these issues, and you need to do something about it. I wrap up by saying I hope that common sense will prevail, and that there will be a mini budget introduced before we go into recess, because it's needed. Either it's a crisis and it's an urgency, or it's not. I want to say thank you for the opportunity this private member has given me to give voice to only some concerns of the people that have to struggle day in and day out without sufficient financial resources.
Thank you very much indeed, Senator Boyhan.